Hey guys, so today I'm going to show you this Franaddicts Designer Box. She's doing these quarterly, and I actually did a little TikTok reveal of these right after I got it, but now I'm actually making a cup with them and I am stoked. So, excuse me, like I said, these are quarterly. There's only a certain number of them available, and there may be some spots opening up when she does these in June. So keep your eyes out. Join her Fran's Glitter and More group on Facebook, and keep an eye out. She'll post when they're ready. So this box is amazing. I wrinkled the vinyl that came with it. It came with a couple little pieces of vinyl to try out. I don't know what I did to it, but it was not where it needed to be. But they did not come that way. A couple of water slides. A little bottle of vinyl sand and some abrasives. Artisan epoxy, 2 ounces of each, or excuse me, 4 ounces of each. So that'll coat a lot of cups. I've never used this brand. I have some of the Fast Set, but I've never tried it. And then all these amazing colors. Very, very 90s Lisa Frank vibes going on. So great. We're putting these on a cup like now. But here's the exciting part. Check out these mica powders. All these neons are so great. These are going to go on that cup as well. So I already have a cup spray painted and on my turner. I already have a little bit of epoxy mixed up. So let's do a swirl. We're going to do a little bit of each color on here. What I'm doing right now is regular KS resin. This is not liquidy split like I normally have. I wanted a little bit of longer work time. So I'm going to go nice and thin. Some people do this just by hand, like not on the turner, and that's fine too. Some people use a silicone brush or squeegee. But one thing to keep an eye out for is any spots that are thicker, your glitters will kind of soak in and have almost like an oil slick looking spot on them. So I'm just going to coat this whole thing, and then we'll be back to do the glitter. So I'm just going to go in order here. So we're going to start with the neon pink. Got papers under here to catch and pour that back in. I'm just going to do this on every single color till we make our way around. I'm so excited about these colors. I've been a little in a funk, and so I have not been working on anything out here really. Definitely haven't been doing videos like usual. I was really hoping to do like 1 per week this year, and I made it a couple of months in without missing, and it just, life gets in the way sometimes. So I'm going to leave this like this. I'm not worried about them being perfectly stripped just like that. Not worried about that, because by the time you add the mica powder in the Milky Way step, that's really not going to be noticeable. And anybody that does notice it, you know, aftermarket, like the end user, they're probably looking for a flaw, because theoretically you're not really going to see that. All right, so let's fast forward this and we'll do all of them. Okay, now, whoa, did you see that cloud? Oh my gosh, what a mess. That's okay, I am not worried about that. So you probably noticed that I just kind of sprinkled a little bit of all these colors just randomly onto this paper. This is why. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do to the bottom. It's really hard to continue the colors in that swirl pattern on the bottom like that. That's pretty cute. But what I do want to do really quickly is just kind of sprinkle some right here to kind of continue it right around this edge instead of trying to dab that on there and messing up the epoxy right there. I may have some dry spots right there. That may be why it's not really adhering. So I'm going to spray it really quickly with Aquanet over the trash can here. And then I'll just really quickly do that. Wow! I always forget whenever these are full how wild they can be. Note to self, next time I'm working with a bunch of colors, just leave them open. It'd be so much easier. Just 2 more. Oh my goodness, that was almost a little bit of a tragedy. And now before you walk away from it, now's the time that you can double check to make sure you don't have any spots that need a little touch up. Whether they need some bald spots filled in, or maybe there was a dry spot within your epoxy or something. Right here for me, this is where my pink turned out really wide, and so I just kind of forced my purple into that area. But like I said earlier, it's going to have the mica powder swirl over it, so really it's not worth stressing over. You just want to make sure you have a pretty good base, and I'm happy with this. 100% happy with this. So we're going to leave it be. I'm going to let it turn. When you put your epoxy on super duper thin like I just did, it doesn't technically need to turn, but I've already got another cup turning over here. I just messed that up. Did you see that? Oh, makes me so mad when I do that. So since I have that turning on the other one, I'm just going to put it close by with my shop light so that that base epoxy cures really nicely. I really hate when I mess things up, but I'm used to it by now. So I end up with epoxy and glitter all over me without explanation. If you did not sign up for the neon box, do not panic. I'm going to list a kind of companion list of what you can use in place of these neons that are pretty darn close. Like I have Buzz right here. It is different. This definitely has more of an iridescent vibe than this one. This is a bigger cut than this one, but in a pinch, it would work. And then probably You Are My Sunshine for this one. I got a couple of different blues this one might be compatible with. This one, Orchid, is the closest one I can think of. It's not really neon, but it's really hard to, it's kind of hard on some of these neons to get a bright enough color. So I'll list in the description or at the end of the video, after I dig everything out, what would be a matching, not quite as neon option. So glitter base is nice and cured. I coated it with Rust-Oleum 2X, and now I have a layer of liquidy split on there. But last minute twist, turn of events, plot twist, whatever you want to call it, I have these really great chunkies that I just got, I don't know, less than a month ago, that are very, very similar. These are actually going to be almost the chunky versions of the pair matchings, whatever you want to call it, that I'm going to list in just a little bit. I'll put it in the description, but I want to sprinkle just a little bit in this layer of epoxy. Not much at all, like probably this much for this whole thing. Just a tiny little, tiny bit. Just to kind of catch the light a little differently. Okay, my on off switch. Underneath the mica drips. Go the other way. I'll list all of these glitters in the description, but this one is Man from Milwaukee. That is my favorite orange to use as far as like a fine orange goes. And this is the chunky version. This is actually a little bit more than I intended, but that's okay. One other thing I haven't mentioned yet is your layer needs to be decently smooth. If you have big chunks in your epoxy, it very well could show up whenever you do your mica drizzles. It very well could end up making a weird little lump in there that you might want to keep an eye out for. I'm just going to do this kind of all the way around on all the different colors. Kind of want it to soak in too. I don't want it to fall off. After this is nice and cured, I'll spray it with clear coat again, and then another good layer of epoxy, and then we'll do the mica. This wasn't part of the original plan, but man, I'm excited. Here's what this looks like now with all of these on here. There's a couple of spots that it kind of came off the spoon in chunks. So I'm just going to use a different finger for each color and just kind of spread those apart. And that way it kind of gives me a little bit better coverage than what I had initially laid down. Because I really don't want big chunks of it. Plus, doing this will also help any of these pieces that were standing straight up. It'll help them go ahead and lay flat. Before moving on to the next part, which is the mica swirl, I want to show you kind of some compatible options here. So for the neon pink, Fetch is not a great option because it has that purple shift in there, but Panther would be. I do not have Panther Fine, which really shocks me, but that would be a good option because that's the same tone. For the orange, Man from Milwaukee is really good. You can't really see the difference in here. This is literally just gold and orange, where this has that iridescent vibe to it. They are different, just not drastically different. The neon yellow, a good option is You Are My Sunshine. It doesn't have quite the same cut, but it's pretty good. You can tell this is one of my favorite ones. For this one, you could do either Buzz or Monsters Inc. Monsters Inc. is a pretty new one. For the neon blue, Blue Mountain is decent. This has more purple to it than this, and a little less of the holographic vibe, but it's good in a pinch. And finally, for the purple, Orchid is okay. This is a beautiful color shift where this is a holographic, but in a pinch, it would get the job done. I hope that's helpful. I used the chunky of most of these here in that other layer. The You Are My Sunshine there. Monsters Inc. Chunky is a little bit different. Monsters Inc. Fine is the bigger cut of this, so that's pretty close. Blue Mountain. Orchid Chunky. Like I said, Panther Chunky. I don't have the fine of this one. And then the Man from Milwaukee option there. So that's what I used as far as the chunkies go. And this gives you an idea of what you could use for the fines. Yeah. I've done a light sand on here just so it kind of got rid of the biggest issues as far as the bumps and lumps go. So now I'm going to put a generous but not dripping layer of this. I need a base for the mica drizzles to go onto. If you don't, it looks a little weird. We'll call it wormies. Y'all have heard me say this before, I'm sure. It's bad. So just doing a light but not super duper thin layer is really helpful on getting that look that we're going for. So I'm just going to put that on here, and then we'll mix up those micas. Got our little cups here. I had mixed up 30 and only used, I don't know, 8 or 9. So not a lot. So I'm just going to put a little bit in each one. It really doesn't take a lot. So really like 2 to 3 milliliters. It really depends on how many colors you're using and how much you plan on putting on there. But not much. I'm going to leave a little bit of extra off to the side just in case I didn't mix up quite enough of one particular color, or if I decide that I need something else. I did not mention that I'm using regular KS resin right now. I did not want to use fast set because I do not want this to fast set. I need work time, and fast set does not come with that ability. It definitely has its place in the world, but for me, this isn't it. Just doing a little bit more in some of these that I didn't quite get full enough. Doesn't have to be exactly equal. No big deal. All right, so that goes off to the side. And now I'm going to use the end of my stir stick here to kind of paddle some out. I have not opened these yet. It's so pretty. I'm going to start with about that much. Let's see if that's enough. I want it nice and pigmented, potent, if you will. It's pretty good. Try and duplicate that on all the others now. These colors are definitely making me want to write a note to my friends on pink paper out of my Trapper Keeper. I remember as a kid, I would choose my notebook based on what color paper it came with. Sometimes they came with pink, sometimes blue. I always went for the pink ones if I could. And I was always hoping that my mom would be okay buying me a name brand Trapper Keeper. So now we are just going to drizzle this. It's going to be kind of hard to get on camera because of the angle being weird. So just kind of get it on there. Allow it to drizzle off. I let too much of it fall off. Sometimes when it first falls off of there, it makes one big blob. So there's been plenty of times that I had to go back and smooth out those blobs. So I try and be super aware of that nowadays. And it's okay if you're running your stick on here. Just allows it to kind of smooth out a little bit differently. And it does not have to go top to bottom. If you want to do it in shorter streaks, go for it. No rules. Just do whatever you want. I don't know why this is wobbling. Like it's turning weird or something. We're going to do that with all the colors. I'm going to speed that part up. Instead of skipping it, cutting it out all together, I'm just going to speed it up. So that is it for the mica drizzles. You could see that I was doing this to kind of stretch them out a little bit, kind of break up some of the colors. When I do that, at that point, I'm not really worried about mixing the colors up very much. It's still going to look good. I really don't want this to swirl. I want it to stay like it is. I don't want much movement, if any, honestly. So you can see also that there's a lot of air bubbles. I think you can see them. So I'm going to show you something incredibly satisfying. This works better, I believe, with 90% alcohol, but I found 70% one day. Watch this. Oh, you can't really see the air bubbles popping. It's very satisfying. I just lightly mist as it rotates around. I don't know why this thing is shaking. It's really getting on my nerves. This pops the air bubbles with a super fine mist of alcohol. And now I'm not going to put it near a heat source like I normally would until it's had plenty of time to set up. So what I'll do is let this rotate for, I don't know, 5-6 hours. Since it's not fast set, I want to make sure and give it lots of time. So we'll be back in the morning and I'll show you all this in daylight. And it's going to be so pretty. I'm getting side pony vibes and stand-up bang vibes. Big time. So here it is. The sun's not really out, but you can see the colors a little bit better, I feel like. I had one bug that decided to kamikaze itself into the epoxy. I got most of it out, and I have to work on it a little bit more and pick it out. But man, this is pretty. I am so excited about this. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to leave it in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer. I'm going to link all the products that I used and discount codes that I have in the description. Y'all have a good one.